Retailers and small businesses are usually looking forward to this time of year as Americans prepare to spend more as the holidays near. However, the supply chain crisis is upending future sales goals and expectations. Here to talk about this issue further and the lasting effects it is small business expert Tomme Sheehan, who is also the CEO of YOUnion, and that's spelled YOUnion, a company created out of frustration to help small businesses during the pandemic. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
Small business optimism is an especially big deal this time of the year, but the supply chain crisis continues to wreak havoc on those retailers. How is this affecting small business optimism?
Well, about half of all small businesses are affected by supply chain when it comes to bringing in products and inventory. So the real issue, if you were to just break everything down, is the small business owner has nowhere to go but to increase its price. And by increasing its price, it's actually losing customers. So I would say today there's probably not a bigger issue for any small business owner because they can't keep inventory within their stores.
And then they put those costs towards the customers, or rather it's the customers who, in the end, they're the ones who are also paying more. But the Biden administration sent out a press release last week claiming that the $1.2 trillion infrastructure package will clear the way for billions of dollars to provide relief for the nation's ports. He just signed that bill on Monday. Do you expect this will provide substantial relief?
Well, not in enough time, right? The last time I checked, there was something like 90 boats that were out out of Long Beach, sitting out on the coasts, and they were actually worrying about if they could get the entire shipping or supply chain done. So you have the trucks that are the issue, you have the workers in the warehouse that are the issue. It's not just the actual shipping ports. So if you talk to the small business owners, they're being told that they have to pay for storage, and I think still, the anticipated delays that I've understood are between 8 and 12 weeks, in which they then still have to pay for the storage of that before they actually get it into their warehouses.
And as
So in short, the answer is no.
And as previously mentioned, you created a company called YOUnion that was created out of frustration to help small businesses during the pandemic by providing tools to compete in a digital world. What sort of concerns have you heard from your clients?
So I spend every day, all day, talking to small business owners about their either inability to understand how to use digital technology or use the platforms that are out there. So they were basically abandoned during COVID. That was for that part. Then you have a second group that when they used them, they're overpromised and underdeliver. And then you have a third, which is actually unable to actually scale their e-commerce platform. So on all three different arrangements for small business, tech has never actually been able to serve a small business after the impacts of the COVID-19. So COVID-19 changed the game because everybody figured out for decades how to make money. I mean, these are family-owned businesses or businesses that have been around for decades. They weren't expecting, any just like anybody else, they weren't expecting what happened. So they had to react, and in that reaction, they're still struggling to figure it out. So not only do they not have the technology knowledge, because they never had to, they don't have the support or the know-how to actually get it done. And that's why we basically built a platform for them to be able to learn the best way to figure out how digital technologies could work for them without any cost to them, so we're really more of an education program for small business owners is what we find ourselves being. If that I know I rambled on for a minute, but I'm trying to give you a much more holistic view of what's happening out there that they're underserved by the technology.
Well, especially because even after the pandemic, we've seen more, for example, restaurants using QR codes for you to scan a menu, and it seems like smartphone is you have to have a smartphone these days in order to even, it seems like, to be going around dining at restaurants or even going to businesses and purchasing something. Some people use their phones or on their Apple Pay, for example. But where do you see technology as far as like small businesses? What would you say is the number one sort of piece of advice would you give to small businesses regarding sort of the technological changes that you're seeing?
Well, the number one problem for small businesses for is their cash flow issue. So they need to use technology to understand the best and appropriate ways of managing their cash flow. That's understanding the timing of their cash flow, the liabilities of their cash flow, and then the legalities of their cash flow. Whether it's the state and local taxes or it's the ability to know when they have to make payments. And this is also to go back to the supply chain, why it's very difficult for SMBs, because 82% of all small businesses fail because of cash flow, and supply chain impacts all of cash flow. So to answer the question directly, it has to be a platform that manages their cash flow, or at least allows them the data to accurately make decisions about their cash flow, because right now they're driving in the dark most of the time.
And lastly, where can our viewers go to learn more about the company that you created during the pandemic?
You can go to jointheyounion.com. That's join the union, YOUnion.com. It's basically a company that's uniting buyers and sellers and community so that we can actually have a platform where small businesses work together instead of verticalized marketplaces.
Again, Tomme Sheehan, thank you so much again for your time.
Thank you, Stephanie. Have a good day.
Thank you.